In the shadow-draped alleys of a city that never sleeps, where secrets lurk in every corner, I found myself entrapped in a tale as old as time, yet as fresh as the wounds it carved in my soul. The pendulum, an unassuming relic of antiquity, became the unlikely protagonist of my story, a symbol of the unseen forces that held me captive in a life I no longer recognized. It began on a rain-soaked evening as I trudged through the labyrinth of streets that had become my prison. The city's incessant hum was a stark contrast to the silence of my heart, a heart burdened by choices unmade and paths untaken. It was then that I stumbled upon an antique store, its windows fogged, veiling the treasures within. As I pushed open the creaking door, a chime announced my entrance into a world forgotten by time. The shop was a mausoleum of memories, each object a testament to a life once lived. Among these relics, my gaze was drawn to a pendulum, its brass gleaming dimly in the subdued light. The shopkeeper, a wizened figure emerging from the shadows, spoke of the pendulum's power. "It's not just a timepiece," he whispered, his voice a blend of mystery and warning. "It's a keeper of fates, swinging between what was and what could be." Intrigued and unsettled, I left with the pendulum cradled in my hands, unaware of the journey it would take me on. Back in my sparse apartment, I watched it swing, its hypnotic motion mirroring the rhythm of my own existence, suspended between action and inaction. Days turned into weeks, and the pendulum became my silent confidant, its oscillations a constant reminder of the stagnant waters of my life. It was as though I, too, was swinging, unable to break free from the inertia that had claimed me. But then, in the depths of my despair, I realized that the pendulum's power was not in its ceaseless motion, but in its potential to stop. It was a symbol not of fate's inescapability, but of the possibility of change, of the moment when the swing would cease, and a new path could be forged. With renewed purpose, I set out to alter the course of my life, to make the choices I had feared and to walk the roads I had avoided. The pendulum, once a symbol of my imprisonment, became a talisman of hope, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, the possibility of change is always within reach. As I write these words, the city outside is still the same. The streets are just as labyrinthine and the secrets just as deep, but I am no longer the same man who walked those streets. The pendulum's lesson is etched in my soul, a noir tale of redemption, of breaking free from the invisible chains that bind us, and of the enduring power of the human spirit to transcend its own limitations. As I delved deeper into the enigmatic nature of the pendulum, I uncovered a realm that transcended the physical. This was not just a tale of metal and momentum, but of esoteric forces and the unseen chains forged by the thoughts of others. The pendulum, I realized, was a metaphor for the weight of external expectations and beliefs, a symbol of how we allow the projections of others to define our reality. In the dim light of my apartment, with the pendulum swinging silently, I pondered this newfound knowledge. Each swing represented the ebb and flow of opinions and judgments, not my own, that had infiltrated my psyche. These were the invisible threads that bound me, the subtle forces that kept me trapped in a life I had not chosen, but which had been chosen for me. The more I observed the pendulum, the more I understood how these external influences shaped my existence. Like a puppet on strings, I had danced to a tune that was not mine, swayed by the winds of societal norms, family expectations, and the pervasive fear of stepping outside the norm. This revelation was both liberating and daunting. To break free from these esoteric chains meant to challenge the very foundations of my identity. It required me to question the beliefs and values I had inherited, to sift through them, and to discern which were truly mine and which were impositions from the world around me. In this introspective journey, I turned to ancient wisdom and mystical practices. I learned about the power of intention, the magic of visualization, and the transformative energy of positive affirmations. These tools became my allies in untangling the web of thoughts that had ensnared me. I began to meditate, focusing on the pendulum's movement, using it as a focal point to enter a deeper state of consciousness. In this meditative trance, I visualized myself breaking free from the pendulum's swing, severing the ethereal cords that tied me to the collective psyche of others. As days passed, I felt a shift within me. The pendulum's sway seemed less commanding, its grip on my soul weakening. I was no longer a passive observer of my life, but an active participant, making choices that resonated with my true self, not with the imposed self. I started to rewrite my narrative, one where I was no longer a victim of unseen forces, but a master of my destiny. I embraced my individuality, celebrating the quirks and idiosyncrasies that made me unique. I learned to trust my intuition, to listen to the whispers of my inner voice, guiding me towards a path of self-discovery and authenticity. The pendulum, once a symbol of my entrapment, became a reminder of my journey towards liberation. It taught me that while we may be influenced by the thoughts and energies of others, we have the power to choose our response, to set boundaries, and to cultivate an inner sanctuary immune to external sway. In the end, the pendulum's greatest lesson was that true freedom comes from within. It is the freedom to be oneself, unapologetically and fearlessly, in a world that constantly tries to shape us into something else. It is the freedom to evolve, to grow, and to transcend the limitations imposed not just by others, but also by ourselves.